So, what I'm going to be doing now that you're all muted is as we go through this session, I'm going to be asking you questions and I'm going to be double checking with you. Um, the quickest way to do it on screen. I want to be comfortable that you're comfortable with moving on to the next thing. So I'm going to teach you a block of music, and then to make sure that you're happy with it and you're okay to move on to the next one, I'm just going to ask you to give me the thumbs up, or like, I might need to go through it again. I haven't really got it, or thumbs down, say, I haven't got a clue what you're trying to say, James. Do it again. So lots of thumbs up, lots of 50-50 signals, lots of, no, you got to do that again, please, James. Don't go on to anything else yet. And then you can slow me down. If you've got any like really specific questions, which this or this or this doesn't address, then feel free to wave and I'll stop and unmute yourself, and then you can ask me the question. Okay. Part of the purpose of this evening session is to give you an indication of the kind of methods we used given this Zoom format. It would be lovely if we could all meet up in lovely local village halls and things with high ceilings and perfect acoustics and play in real life, where you get the energy of playing in a group, you get the vibrations of the drums, you just get the whole physicality of the whole thing about taiko drumming. With the lockdown, of course, you're not going to get that. So this is very much an alternative, a substitute to the real deal. But people are finding this is still useful. It still gives people a chance to feel like they're meeting, albeit on screen. And you can stop and ask me questions. So it's fairly interactive. We also, with our courses, record the whole thing so you can watch a replay. And we also provide PDFs of written notation and MP3s of audio arrangements of what we're learning. Plus, on these drums behind me, I do like 2 or 3 minute teaching videos. This is the first part of the rhythm. This is the second part of the rhythm. This is the third part of the rhythm. And those individual videos will be up on the website for you to dip into if you need a reminder about how each individual goes. So there's going to be quite a lot of resources up on the web page if you decide to sign up for any of the future courses. Okay, one of the things that we do at the start is once we've done our little introductions, we take 2 or 3 minutes out to do very, very gentle physical warm-ups. Taiko drumming, I describe it very simplistically as a cross between drumming and martial arts, because there's the posture has a quasi martial arts feel to it. There's a lot of physicality with the whole thing. The shouting that goes along with it, for those of you who have seen taiko performances, it's almost like using kiai in karate lessons or something. So there's quite a lot borrowed from martial arts, and it's quite a physical thing. And if you do martial arts or sports, you should always do warm-ups. You do taiko drumming, you should always do warm-ups. We do a watered down version. So we just tend to focus on fingers, wrists, jaw, neck, shoulders, elbows and arms a little bit. We don't bother with the lower body quite so much. So injuries allowing, I'm going to ask you to do 1 or 2 little exercises in a moment to loosen up your hands and your fingers and your wrists, and then your neck and shoulders. Okay. So I can feel a sneeze coming on. So any second, excuse me. No, it's gone. Okay. We're going to go into hands warm up. I'm going to ask you to do an exercise. It might feel a bit silly because it's a bit like playing the piano imaginary piano in midair. I'm going to ask you to straighten the fingers, however. If you lock the fingers fairly straight and you do this movement like you're playing the piano, but with straight fingers, you should feel after 20 or 30 seconds of a warm tingling sensation down the back of the hands. Because what it does, it engages the ligaments and the muscles on that side of the forearm, as well as the muscles in the fingers as well. When you're doing this, make sure you're not scrunching up, relax your neck and your shoulders. Feel free to take deep breaths while we're doing these hand exercises if it helps you relax. So Michael, you're unmuted at the moment. And give me a little jiggle and a shake. Good, good, good. Okay, good. Now we're going to do another exercise for the wrists, because what we're going to be doing, I'm going to be asking you to, the stick grip, there are various stick grips for taiko. And the one that I'm going to be using is basically a loose fist grip. It looks like a fist, but it's actually very relaxed. If I hold it really tight and squeeze out all the space and I tap it, it doesn't go anywhere. It's too rigid. I'm holding it too tightly. Whereas if I retain this rough shape, but I put a little bit of air space in there, now when I tip the stick, it's got room to pivot. So when you do your forward flick of the wrist later down onto the drum, it should be able to pivot like that. Okay. So, but you can also see that I'm using my wrist. Now, if you've got tension in the wrist and you're trying to punch the drum or something, or put all your shoulder into it, you're going to create tension here. You might strain yourself. So to counter this tendency to both hold the stick too tight and to have a rigid wrist, what we need is some gentle wrist exercises. So could you keep your hand nice and relaxed and open. What I want you to do is flop the hand forward. The fingers are open. When you flop forward like that, you might well feel the tiniest little pull on the back of the wrist. And you do that with both hands. Now, you flop them forward, you get the tiniest little pull here. What I'm going to ask you to do is, with the fingers flopping forward, just rotate. Let the hands fall. And if you can keep them up so about this height here, so the forearm is vertical and it's flop forward and you're doing that with it rather than down here. So it's up here. When you do that, you're actually engaging these muscles as well. And then you change direction. So not here, but up here, and flop them forward and rotate. Try not to scrunch up your neck when you're doing that. Change direction, flop the hands forward. Loose fingers is what it's all about. And then finish with a jiggle and drop down. Okay. And the last little exercise, sometimes we do exercises for the jaw and the face, but we're going to skip that because we've got a short session. So we're going to work on the last muscle group, the trap muscles up here. I hold a lot of tension up here. If you do a lot of driving or computer work, you might find the same thing. Simple exercise to get into these muscles at the top of the shoulder blade. We're going to do shrugs and then we're going to add circles, but we're going to do that in a specific way. You can maximize focusing on these muscles by making sure that you're not hunching up your arms like this. Let them drop down. So the arms are dropped down either side, floppy hands hanging down, and for whatever reason, if you've got the weight of the arm dropping down and flopping down, it helps to focus on these muscles. When you do the shrug, just please avoid sticking your chin forward and keep the back of your head in a neutral, natural position. So let's try a shrug. Up, and then what you do is, slowly, both shoulders going backwards. Try not to stick your chin forward. Try and let your wrists and your hands dangle down. Change direction, nice and slow. Ideally, you're getting a sense of getting almost like imaginary massage going on in these tight muscles here. We hold a lot of tension there. A lot of us anyway, not everybody, but a lot of people do. I've got one or two other exercises as well for those muscles that if you sign up, you'll see that when we do slightly more extended warm-ups. Hopefully I can pass those on to you as well. But I've got an eye on the music tonight. And it's a shortish session by the time we've got everybody signed in and we've done our introductions and our warm-ups. So I've got a slight eye on the clock, so we won't do everything that we do in a normal course. So that's an example of some of the warm-ups we do. We've looked at the hand grip. Now, there are two main things that I use in these sessions, and that is me sitting close to the screen as I am now, and I use a pair of old Batchy that I've got that taped up at ends. So I'm recycling the sticks, and I deliberately leave this stick with the red tape on it and this one without, just to show you which is my best hand. Some people like to see right and left. I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, lead with your left hand. But I'll be using explanations that refer to strong hand as right hand. So my apologies in advance to left-handed players. Okay, so this is my right, my left, and what I do is I play close to the screen here. You can see my sticks moving, and I'm going to be using one of three different explanations as I'm speaking. I'm either going to be doing what my teacher did in Hiroshima, which was that he did everything by word of mouth. Nothing was written down. And he would sing or shout the rhythm, and I would watch and listen to all the veteran players, and they'd all be vocalizing it back and then practicing. So most Japanese teachers, my teacher used a different sound, but most Japanese teachers represent this sound on the drum as the word don, D-O-N if you write it in English, in Roman letters. If you use this sound, you create this sound on the edge shot of the drum. That's the cat sound, K-A, the Japanese letter cat. So those are the two main sounds that you hear me vocalizing, but there are others as well. So if you were learning a rhythm, for example, the team that was in before you tonight, we did 2 taster sessions. We did one at 6:30. They learned a different rhythm, and what I taught them was don, da-don, da-don, da-don. So this is the don. The don beats are in the air. The cat beats are when you play on the edge. The don beats are on the middle of the skin, I beg your pardon. So sometimes I vocalize while I'm teaching you the next set of music. Sometimes I do a count. 1, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you do 1 beat, 2 beats, 4 beats, for example. Some people prefer to have the number of beats clear in their head rather than sing the music of it. Some people like to focus on the rights and the left. So sometimes I'm going right, left, right, right, left, left, right. So I'm going to use a mixture of those things. I'm not always going to be playing on my drums behind me. Sometimes I'm going to be here at the screen. And that's how I'd like to start. So I'm going to teach you a rhythm, and this is going to be familiar to possibly to Deborah and Ken and Carol, and possibly to Anne as well. So this is, and actually, and it might be to Roz. It might even be familiar to Yuko, because if Yuko's done lessons with Jared, I know that Jared does this rhythm. So this rhythm is not one of my own rhythms. It's not one of the ones that I learned in Hiroshima or when I was playing with other UK-based musicians. This is a piece written by somebody called Chabo-san, who's the leader of a group called Shidara Taiko. And the piece is called Raku. And it's got a gorgeous flute melody, bamboo flute melody. I do actually play the Yokobue bamboo flute, but I'm not going to be playing it tonight. But what I am going to do is a quick test to see. One of the things we do once in a blue moon on these courses is we share a video on YouTube. And it might work and it might not. So I'm going to show you the video first, and it'll give you an idea of it, and then we're going to break down the rhythm. Okay, so let's see if it's going to work. I have a feeling, Yuko, are you using a phone or a pad, a tablet? You might be. So if you're using a phone or a tablet, the YouTube video might be more difficult to watch. So technically, this might not work for everybody. So apologies in advance to Yuko in case this video coming up is not visible. Let's find out. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share, and I'm going to switch to this. Oops, where's he gone? There it is. Now, I'm just going to make you visible as well. So where's Michael gone? I'm going to get a thumbs up. Michael, can you see the video? Okay, so hopefully you're going to be able to hear it as well. So this is a group called Shidara Taiko. Chabo-san is the person who wrote it, and these are 3 of his students, I believe. 4 of his students playing it, 5th student playing the flute in the background. It's an old video, so you can see the quality of the video is not great, but it's just to give you an idea. This is 3 people playing around one drum, and although this rhythm was composed fairly recently, it's got a really, really traditional feel to it. Okay, so authentic Japanese feel to it. Have a quick listen. It might be familiar to some people. To you. So that is the main rhythm, and it repeats and repeats and repeats, and it's in 3 or 4 parts depending on how you want to break it down. Got the lovely flute melody going over the top. That's an example of 3 people playing around one drum. So one person played the whole sequence, and then there's a gap. He jumps off, the next person comes on and plays the whole sequence again. So there are other versions of that, but it's thanks to Chabo-san that he's sort of created an open source piece for people like us to learn from. Very authentic feel to the rhythm and the whole combination of the flute melody. You might have noticed one person in the background playing the shimedaiko, playing what we call the ji uchi, the support rhythm. That's going on in the background continuously. That's a very, very important job. Holds the tempo steady. That's usually my job. Okay, so just wanted to show you. Yuko, could you see the video okay? Yeah? Yeah, good. So it might be familiar. I know that Jared knows that rhythm, so he might have taught it to you. And maybe Heather might have taught it. Roz, I don't know, did it sound familiar? Yeah, okay, good. So we're going to do a breakdown of that, and hopefully I can pick up on one or two other things on there as well. You might have noticed there was lots of jumping, lots of shouting. So although the rhythm is fairly simplistic, when you put all the shouts and the shouts, the movements, and the rhythm together, there's a fair bit of multitasking going on. So we're going to look at the first rhythm that you just heard. Okay, can you get your sticks in your hands? I'm going to be starting here, and I'll be moving to my drums behind me to demonstrate with you. But the first thing we're going to have a go at is the first few beats that you just played, that you just heard being played. It's don, don, docka, docka. So it's strong hand, weak hand, nice and strong. And then there's a mini 4-beat crescendo. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those first 2 beats, they were doing big lifts of the shoulders. It's 1, 2, docka, docka. 6 beats in total. Can we try that? After 2. Start with your best hand. Okay, let's try it together. 1, 2. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Easy peasy. 1, 2. Don, don, docka, docka. So you start quiet, you get louder on those last 4 beats. Try again. 1, 2. Don, don, docka, docka. Great. One more time. 1, 2. Don, don, docka, docka. And straight away, without stopping, we go into the next section, which is a little bit more complicated in terms of the sticking. Okay. Can you try right, right, left, left, right? It's 5 beats in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don, da, don, da, don. Can we try those 5 beats after 2? 1, 2. Right, right, left, left, right. We're going to keep repeating this so it becomes a bit like a muscle memory. 1, 2. Right, right, left, left, right. 1, 2. Don, da, don, da, don. So you do 2 beats with your right hand, and it tends to be a strong beat followed by a softer beat. And then the next 2 beats with your left hand, strong and soft. Don, da, don, da, don. Can we try that? 1, 2. Don, da, don, da, don. 1, 2. Don, da, don, da, don. Okay, so if you put all of those little chunks that we've had a look at together, it goes like this. Don, don, docka, docka, right, right, left, left, right. So there's no gap in between now. So could we try the whole of that line after 4 this time? 1, 2, 3, 4. Don, don, docka, docka, right, right, left, left, right. 1, 2, 3, go. Don, don, docka, docka, right, right, left, left, right. One more time, after 2 this time. 1, 2. Don, don, docka, docka, right, right, left, left, right. So musically, if that makes sense and you're using the rights and the lefts in a correct spot, can you give me a thumbs up, or like, no, I need to go through that again, or I haven't got a clue what's going on? Can you give me a signal so I know that we're okay to go on to the next part? Okay, so it's not, thank you, it's not super complicated, but when you start piling on all the movements, this gets a little bit interesting. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play it with you at a slightly faster tempo on the drums behind me. Okay, so I'm going to tip this down a little bit. Hopefully you can hear that. I'm playing on a Shimadaiko from Asano Taiko Factory here, but I've got an old cover on top of it, a worn cover, just to deaden the sound because it'd be too loud to the neighbours. And I've got a red, what's called an Okedo drum here. This is from Kaiser Factory in Germany. Sorry, the Kaiser distributors in Germany. It's actually made in a Chinese factory to Japanese specifications. So it's a very authentic size and material. Not quite as good quality, I have to say, as the real Japanese ones, but they're still really good. And I put a spare cover on top, a broken one, just to deaden the sound. This is a skin from 1997. It's lasted very well, but it deadens the sound for me. So that's what I'm playing on. Now I'm trying to get my feet nice and wide apart. I've got just about enough space. Not everybody has. Some people even do this sitting down. But if you've got enough physical space, the quasi-martial arts posture is quite an important factor. I've got my feet wider than shoulder width. I've got my knees bent, which means I can shift my weight left to right. And I also, I'm going to demonstrate this, when I do my big lifts, I'm reaching my arm forward and up. So it's not like kick drumming where you play with, sitting on a stool and lots of wrists. It's actually a full body thing, getting the sticks past your head quite a lot. Okay, so can we try with a bit more of the physical element, nice and slow, that whole line, don, don, docka, docka, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try that after 2. 1, 2. Don, don. Don, 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 don. Great. And again, please. 1, 2. Don, don. Nice. 1, 2. Now, if that was all okay, thumbs up. All good? We're going to do the next part now, okay? Next part starts the same. Finishes with 3 big beats, and then there's an extra little bit if we can put it on as well. So the second half is actually easier. It starts the same. Don, don, docka, docka. 1, 2, 3 single beats to finish. Nice and easy. So let's try the second half. You finish with 3 strong beats. Okay? 1, 2, don, don, docka. 1, 2, 3. That's how the second half finishes. Try that again. 1, 2. Nice. And again, please. 1, 2. So that is the second half. Let's go back to the first half. Don, don, docka, docka. Right, right, left, left, right. Let's revise that part after 2. 1, 2. Now let's do the second half that finishes with the 3 simple beats. 1, 2. So challenge is to do both parts together. It's going to sound like this. That's part 1 and part 2. Let's give it a go. Both parts. I'm going to play on this drum. 1, 2, 3, go. Now that's the first time we've played both parts together. Were your hands behaving, or not really, or hopeless? Got some thumbs up, all good. Okay, great, great, great. So the challenge is to do what you just did twice. Okay, so could you do what you just did, finish with don, 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 and then stop, and then do it all again? Okay, so 2 lots, a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, go. And again. Okay. Now there's a little section in between. You know we did 2 sets. There should be a little extra little thing that we put in that little gap between the 2 sets. And it's partly dependent on your drum surfaces. It's easy for me because I've got an authentic TAIKOWEST here. If you're playing on a cushion, it could be tricky. If you're playing on a tire, it could still work. If you're playing on a pad with a wooden edge around the end, it should definitely work. What I'm going to ask you to do is play the edge sound, the cat sound. It's 4 beats. So after 2, could you play little gentle flicks of the wrist? You don't need to whack it, otherwise you might break your stick or hurt your wrist or something. Can you just try karakaka on the edge, starting with your best hand? After 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I'd like you to insert the little edge shots that we just played, karakaka, at the end. So it's going to sound like this. And your best hand is going to be quite busy. You use your best hand to start the edge shots. So what I'm asking you to do is what you did previously, but instead of having a little breather in the gap, you try and squeeze in. Okay, so let's try a little bit slower than I just demonstrated it. 1 whole set, finish with karakaka. 1 whole set, finish with karakaka. Let's try it. After 4. 1, 2, 3, go. One more go. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, good. So that is part 1. You just played all of part 1. Everything that goes with it, okay? So I am going to ask Steve and Roz and Yuko. I'm just going to check in with you. If you know that rhythm or if your hands are behaving, if you can unmute yourselves for a moment. I just want to check. If you know how to unmute yourself on Zoom, Steve, that would be handy.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. So I just want to check how you're doing with that. So Roz, this is the same version you would have learned with Heather?
Yes.
Okay, so your hands are doing it on automatic, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What I'd like to find out is, did Heather teach you all the dancing, the movements, the little jig?
Yes.
Great, good. So Yuko, you've done this one as well? With Jared? Yeah. And did Jared teach you all the movements as well? The dance and the little jumps? Yes, good. Okay, so you're not going to be shy then when we come to that in the next few minutes, but it's going to be pretty strange for Steve, who's got experience of playing a kit drum, to be doing jigs and shoulder movements. That's not what you normally do when you're sitting behind a kit drum. So my experience of working with kit drummers with taiko is that usually the rhythms are really simplistic compared to the things that people have learned, like, you know, complicated rock music and stuff, and syncopated bluesy jazz stuff. They're relatively simplistic, the main rhythms. It's when you throw in the shouts and the coordination and the choreography and the ensemble playing that it becomes a different kind of multitasking. So that's where the challenge tends to come for kit drummers, whereas people who are learning maybe don't play much in terms of other instruments when it comes to the taiko. If they start with the taiko, they get the combination movements going a bit more smoothly. It's when we get into really interesting time signatures with taiko, plus all the physicality, that's when it gets really challenging. So I just wanted to see how you were doing with that. So you're musically, Steve, I mean, that's a really simplistic rhythm, presumably, musically.
Yeah, I've got the rhythm. It's I think the physicality, raising the stick up, I mean, I'm not doing that at the moment. And as soon as I try to think about that, I must admit, it starts to get a little bit ragged. So,
yeah. Have you ever done any kinds of martial arts or anything?
No, I haven't, no.
No, okay.
So I'm not used to expressing myself in this way.
The thing about the lift, just so you know, is when you start the lift, the first move is actually pointing away from yourself.
Right.
It's this big, the whole of the shoulder joint. You relatively straighten the arm, yeah, and you keep going so the stick is past your head, bam, and you use all that momentum from up here to come down onto the drum to give it more oomph on the way down. In combination with the final flick wrist, of course, but because you're dropping it from here as well, boom, it adds to the whole physicality and the volume of those strong beats. So we haven't got time to go through the whole thing, but I'd like to just do the final section. So we're gonna leave out the little jig. Okay, Steve might be relieved that we're not doing the jig. We're gonna jump, but we are gonna jump to a little bit more shoulder movement, Steve, and everybody else as well. So the final section, it goes like this: 1, 2, right, left. It's don don, ha, don don, ha, don don, ha, don don, ha, and then there's a little section to finish. So it's almost like a workout. It's almost like doing a shoulder workout. So you put both arms forward and you lift up together. So it's like parallel lines going up to the ceiling. Okay. So could you try right, left, and then forward and up? Right, left, forward and up. And I'm going to demonstrate over here so you can see my arms more clearly. So we're jumping to the third and final section. Okay. It goes like this: 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up. Okay. And you can see that I'm actually, after I hit, I keep my arms facing forward and I lift from the shoulders. So it's not like I bring them in and then point up to the ceiling. I let the weight of the sticks fall forward and I lift with my arms extended. It's parallel lines going up. That's it. So can we try 4 lots, dom, dom, up, dom, dom, up, 4 lots of 2. Ready? They're quite strong beats. So after 2, 1, 2, right, left, up, right, left, up, right, left, then something else is going to happen. Feel free to join me on the shouts. After each beat, there's a gap, and I'm doing a kind of what they call a kakegoe use of your voice. Ha, don, don, ha, don, don, ha. It's almost like a stereotypical martial arts type. If you've seen people practicing karate, ha, ha, it's that kind of shout. Okay, so if you've got somebody sleeping in the next room and you're trying to, not disturb them, then of course leave out the shouting. If your neighbours are going to wonder what's going on, then leave the shouting. But it is an embedded part of this rhythm. So at some point, hopefully you get a chance to do it in full flow. So try again with the shouts. 1, 2. Ha, 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 ha. Sorry, I didn't lift my arms on the last one, and I should. So the last part goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. And we should check the sticking. So let's just put that under the microscope, the correct sticking. It goes right, left, and 1, 2, 3. If I sing it like 1, 2, 3, 4, and that and beat is also with the left hand. So it's like right, left, right, right. So first 4 beats, strong alternating hands, right, left, and then the little touch beat, the and beat, is with your left hand. Right, left, and right, left, right. So can we try those 8 beats after 2? 1, 2. Just that. 1 after 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. 1, 2, 3, go. Great. So, I'm going to show you a screen share of how we generally write down our rhythms. We use something called kuchi shoga, which is, kuchi means lips or mouth, and the shoga is a form of written notation. So my teacher would use that sound don and cat. So don, don, doko, doko, don, go, don, go, don. It would be vocalized like that by people practicing and rehearsing and learning it. And then this is just a written version of that vocalization. So I'm just going to do a screen share with you of what our notation looks like. Now, when the group, let me just check something with you. When the group Shidara Taiko wrote it, they produced different types of, I'm just going to move you across a little bit. Excuse me while I rejig the screen. It might not look right. Where's it gone? Yeah. So this was the original composition at the bottom here. Can everybody see can you give me a thumbs up? Does everybody see the screen? The PDF, yeah? So this was the original composition in 2007. And they use a combination of, well, it's basically a Western notation, handwritten Western notation. And then what they did after that was they created this full-blown Western notation with a few little extras about the arm positions here and here, and with some shouts written in. But, excuse me, not everybody can read these dots. For some people who've never done music lessons, this means nothing. This just means it's gobbledygook. So what I do, this is another thing that the group in Japan, in Shidara, did. They created a different form of notation whereby at the top they had a mixture of Western notation and the don, doko, doko, doko written down. And then under that, they did this don, doko, doko. And then under that, they did right, left, right, left. It's almost too much information all on one page. Too many different types of notation. So I just wanted to show you this because there's so many different ways of notating it. But what I've done, and what I do in my classes, is I simplify all of that so it looks like this. And this is what I stick with. So, title, beats per minute, name of the person who wrote it, part 1. This is the only thing that I tend to borrow from Western notation, which is the crescendo. Don, don, doko, doko, don, sto, don, sto, don. And we've got rights and lefts written in red underneath. Don, don, doka, doka, don, 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 karakaka. It's all written there. Okay, so this is Kuchi Shoga notation. This is the simplistic version that I use. And then we skipped out this part. This is where we do the jig, which we skipped. And we just did this for part 3. Don, don, ha, don, don, ha, don, don, ha, don, don, ha, don, 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 don. Now you might do a big shout there, sore, as you hit the last beat. But we've done enough shouts for the ha. So I just wanted to show you what the written notation that I use in my courses, this is what it looks like. And hopefully it's a simplified version compared to the potentially complicated routes you can go down with other types of notation. So what I'd like to try to finish off is putting this part with this part. Okay, so we're going to skip part 2 simply because time is beating us. So I'm going to stop the screen share because I just wanted to show you what it looked like. We're not playing from it while we're reading. We're not playing while we're reading. So here we go. Let's revise part 1. Don, don, doka, doka, don, da, don, da, don. That one, okay? See how far we can get. 1. And see if you can remember to add the karakaka on the end if you can. 1, 2, 3, go. Don, don, doka, doka, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don, don, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don, don, don. Don, don, doka, doka, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don, don, doka, doka, 1, 2, 3. Now then there's part 2, which we didn't do. We're jumping to the final part, don, don, ha. Okay, so see if we remember, see how much of a muscle memory you might have of this, okay? So don, don, and the lifts. Ready? 1, 2, don, don, ha, don, don, ha, don, don, ha, don, don, ha, don, don, dokon, go, don, don, don. So that last, let's put that last 8 beats back under the microscope because that was the last thing we did and it needs a bit more repetition. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, which is like walking beats. Don, don, dokon, go. That little and beat there, it's the second beat with the left, with a weak hand. Right, left, and 1, 2, 3. Can we try that last 8 beats in isolation after 2? 1, 2, don, don, dokon, go, don, don, don. And again, 1, 2, don, don, dokon, go, don, don, sore. And now the little shout I did at the end is where you actually hit, as you hit that final beat, you actually shout. It's a two-syllable shout, sore. Like a Japanese festival, matsuri kind of feel to that. It's like, yeah, this is it. This is the way to do it. So join in the sore at the end if you want to. One more time. Last 8 beats. 1, 2. Don, don, dokon, go, don, don, sore. And then you go back to the start and you do it all again. So let's see if we, I'm going to join you on the drums. Last week, it's gone quarter past. I'm happy to run over if you are. Can we try 2 lots of part 1 and then jump straight to the ending? Don, don, hup, don, don, hup, don, don. So for those of you who know the whole piece in sequence, it's actually quite tricky because some of you are going to automatically want to go to part 2 and we skipped part 2. So apologies to those who know this rhythm. Okay, here we go. So, oh, sorry. There is one other thing that I didn't mention to you, and that is that there's one other thing that I use, and that is free metronome apps on my phone. And because I've got a half decent microphone here, it picks up the fairly loud, good quality metronome app, and I use that to control our tempo. So this rhythm is usually at I like to play this at 110 beats a minute. So let's set the metronome because it is something I use a lot in my online classes, and it is helpful to sort of start off at a slower pitch and just get used to tempo changes. So don, don, da, da, don, da, don, da, don. Let's put up to 115 because I think because you're familiar with it, we did it at a slightly faster pace. So I leave that there. So that's going to be going in the background. I'm going to play it with you. Rhythm 1, 2 sets, and then we jump straight to don, don, ha, don, don, ha, and that'll be the last bit of drumming. Here we go. Don, don, da, 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 1, 2, 3. So apologies for taking some of you by surprise. Can we try that one last time? Same again, because the jump from the end of rhythm 1 into rhythm 3, those of you who've learned rhythm 2, it's a bit tricky. Okay, so, but it's very good adjustment. It shows that you're nimble with your ability to move with the flexibility of the arrangements as time dictates, as time requires. So this really will be the last bit of drumming. Same again. Relax your shoulders. Big deep breath. Put as much power into the drum as you want. After 4, 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, so it's only a 45-minute session tonight. It's usually 75 minutes of an evening, so it's not quite as rushed as this normally. But hopefully we've given you a little indication of typically how the sessions run. And the rhythms that I've got lined up for the courses that are starting next week, we run on a Monday evening, Tuesday evening, Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock, 75 minutes. We almost always overrun, but it's nice because we get a chance at the end to ask questions and have a quick chat at the end and things. So you've seen what you can and cannot do with Zoom. We switch them, if you try and play together because of internet latency and lag, it sounds awful if you had everybody muted. So it's a bit one-sided in that the information comes from me, the music comes from me, the demonstration comes from me. That's what we found to be the best, most helpful way to use Zoom. There are ways with very specific technology where musicians are learning to practice together in real time over the internet, but you have to be within a kind of, 250-mile radius, and you all have to have pretty specialized hardware to make that work. Not everybody's got that. So that's why we're muting everybody. We're not listening to everybody else in the team, and so it's pretty one way. But the difference is, of course, you can stop me, you can interrupt me, you can ask me questions. Now, that's what I encourage people to do in the middle of each session at some point. You've seen the PDFs, you've seen the videos. We also do MP3s as well. By the time you get to week 4 or week 5 of the course, just like we saw today and you saw on the PDF, we learned rhythm 1, we skipped rhythm 2, we learned rhythm 3. Once you've learned those individual blocks, then you can decide your arrangement. How many times I'm also going to be building in drills at the start, like technical drills. For 5, 10, 15 minutes at the start of a lot of classes, not necessarily every single class. And also for course 3, which is going to be slightly different, maybe 2 out of 5 classes, I'm going to take 10 or 15 minutes out to give background general information. Instead of saying, on this course, we're going to focus on this rhythm and this rhythm alone. Well, there is going to be a big focus on one piece of repertoire, that's for sure. But what I also want to do is widen it out occasionally and go off at a slight tangent where I can pass on the information that I picked up over the years for things that are relevant, maybe culturally or in terms of equipment or the biomechanics of it, how to play safely without getting RSI injuries and things like that, or the historical background or the specifics of a particular rhythm. And we're going to go off at like a 10 or 15 minute tangent, and I'll do a presentation, I'll have some materials for you to look at, or links for you to go away and research it yourself, things like that. So in course 1 and course 2, we were very focused on learning 1 or 2 pieces. The focus is still going to be there, but we're going to give ourselves a little bit of breathing space to look at interesting other tangential subjects, if you know what I mean. So that's going to be a new thing for course 3. But hopefully I've given you an idea of what we normally do. So I'm going to hand over to Michael. He's going to give you the last little bits of information. Then we're going to unmute everybody and just wind down and take any questions or observations. What Michael is going to ask you to do just before he starts talking is, if you're familiar with Zoom, and most of you seem very comfortable using it, hopefully you know where the chat button is. And the chat button on the screen there, if you've enjoyed tonight and you think you could learn something by signing up for one of our courses, please give us a quick, we could do it with just a show of hands maybe. if you definitely like to sign up, or if you're 50-50, or you think like thanks but no thanks, it'd be helpful for us in terms of planning, because it's Thursday evening now. We're starting next Monday, and it'd be helpful for us to know the numbers of people who are going to be attending on the next course. So if you think after tonight you're likely to start, probably not, definitely not, even just letting us know whichever way it is in the chat box, or emailing Michael, or just giving us a thumbs up now when we start chatting. Okay, right, over to Michael for the final information.
Thank you, James. Once you've confirmed, either in the chat or send me a text message or an email or whatever you want to do, then I will send you the final joining instructions for next week. Included in that will also be the payment details, which you will have had before, but I'll remind you again what they are. So we do BACS payments, so if you can transfer a payment via BACS, that'd be fantastic. As soon as we've got your payment, I will also give you then an email with login details to the online resources that James has mentioned, which you don't need access to immediately, but you will within 48 hours of attending your first class. But I will get those to you as soon as we've received your payment, so that you're all set up for next week. So because it's Thursday, we've got a few days to sort it out. Let us know sooner rather than later, and then we can get started and get you booked on and signed up for that.
Great, thanks, Michael. So so please feel free to unmute yourselves. Or we can't unmute everybody, can we?
No.
We can mute you, but we can't unmute you. So could you go ahead and unmute yourselves so that you can ask any questions, give us any feedback while we're winding down, or type in any response in the chat box as to whether you think you're going to be signing up or not.
Michael, thank you for being so understanding and getting me on this tonight. I don't know what was the matter, but there we are. Yes, James, I'm going to thoroughly enjoy your course. Great. So I shall be doing the bank transfer tomorrow.
Great.
And I can't find the chat button.
Okay. It's okay.
What is it called? Chat?
Yeah. If you,
I got participants.
Yeah, it's next
share
to that.
Content.
It should be next to participants. No.
Participants. Next door it says more. The other side it says share content.
Ah, it's different. Okay, you got a different layer.
Okay, never mind. I'll have
we've got
done the
your
bank
answer.
transfer tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, Ross. And so just to let you know, if you felt that the speed at which we were moving from part 1 to part 2 to etc. was just right for you, then I would recommend the B class, and that's on a Wednesday. But if you felt you could go at an even faster pace or take on board even more complicated rhythms, then I'd recommend the C class, which is on the Monday. I get the feeling none of you would enjoy going at the slightly slower pace of the A class, which is on a Tuesday. So I wouldn't recommend the A class because you've got too much experience of drumming. I would recommend B on a Wednesday or C for this, which is we tend to do the more complicated rhythms in the C class, which is on the Monday. So that's what I would recommend. And all of that information, the days and the times and the categories, if you go to TAIKOWEST.com, the very first page you land on has got all of that information. There's a table on the top right side, and it's got it's like a calendar, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with all the different dates and things. So thank you very much for giving it a go. Any questions while we're unwinding? Any observations, thoughts, things to share, chat box or otherwise?